There's one thing you have to understand about veterans, especially veterans of World War II, Vietnam, that these gentlemen were privy to conversations of plans that were put in place 80 years ago. And then when they would come back from the war, they couldn't tell their family or their friends, but sometimes they did. Sometimes they would disclose the information that was, told to them while they were, enlisted in the military. And I remember clearly one time my grandfather telling me when I was 8 years old, he says, one day the Asian race will rule the world. And I was like, what? And I was 8, I couldn't comprehend this. He says, what they want is a world that has one bank, one grocery store, one department store. You know, you can clearly see that's happening. All these mom and pop places are shutting down, and you can clearly see they're using China as the paradigm. But I know for a fact, me personally speaking, that it won't happen because this is not an earth that is run by them. This universe belongs to Source. Now, probably some people are thinking, well, where was God during, the Holocaust or slavery? Well, you have to take that up with your creator because for whatever reason those things were allowed to happen, they happened. This earth is not a utopia, and it never will be. I always felt it's a combination of both the light and the darkness. That's why they call it Middle Earth, in between the light and the darkness, a combination of both, which makes it gray. When you take black and white and you combine them, you always get gray, which is balance, the neutral, the middle, the idle, the in between. When you're sitting in your car and the engine's running, but the transmission's in neutral, you are not physically moving, but the car is running. It's still operating. So that's essentially the premise. You're not going forward, you're not going in reverse. You're not doing either one of those two choices, taking those up. But the car is still running. So, in that sense, that's the premise of why you're here. You don't always have to go backward or forward or sideways or wherever. As long as you keep operating in some capacity. But I do know that what I'm seeing here is a lot of store closures of stores that have been open in the 1920s and they're shutting down. I've never seen this in my life. Because the online store, the big one, that's killing everything. When I was a kid, we used to go to something called a shopping mall. That was where the everything of everything was. Movies, video games, clothes, toys, food, candy. That was the mecca, the hub. That's where everybody went on the weekends. Go to school Monday to Friday, Friday after school, go to the mall, or Saturday. Not anymore. All of them across the country are just shutting down because they can't keep up with the online business. So you can clearly see where this is headed. There's just going to be one or two big box stores, and then that's it. Because they're removing your choices. You have to understand something. What drives a competitive market is competition. That's what gives you the choices of prices. If you don't like his price, go to somebody else. But what if there is no other guy to go to, and there's only one? Then they can control that. You haven't thought of that yet. If there's only one place to get your everything from, then they can charge you whatever they want. If you can't pay it, you're out on the street. And considering the fact that they don't raise your price of salary, they don't raise your salary in relation to the cost of living and inflation, and all that. Of course not. Some of these people working for Amazon are making a salary from 1978, while the owner is making, I think, was it $250 million a day tax free or something, because he pays himself in dividends, which is a non-taxable income. He's got, I think, a $500 million yacht or something like that. And these kids, they have to pack those trucks themselves with 200 deliveries, and then they have to deliver a minimum of 150 deliveries a day. That's why all of those trucks are banged up, and that's why they're running in and out of the stops like crazy. That's why that job is only for young kids. But I remember when my grandfather told me that, and I just didn't think much of it. Listen, before I end this video, I'm just going to tell you, this cult is going to give it the old college try, but they're going to fail. And they will be the catalyst of their own demise on many levels, right? So I'm not saying just chill out and there's going to be a magical army to come and save you, because that ain't going to happen. You're going to have to save yourselves. But trust me, when that day comes, people will rise up. They will, not just in this country, but around the world. When that thing was going on 4 years ago, remember that thing? Begins with a C. What they didn't tell you and didn't show you on the news was the global revolution going on, the protests around the world. Millions of people from every country, every walk of life, stood up in protest. It was tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands in the streets of France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Holland, Australia, all of the South American countries. They were all rising up in protest against this. Not just the governments, but the cult, which is one and the same. There are no governments. There's just corporations, man. That are controlled by this clique. They control everything. So they can plan and plot and scheme and hope for these things to happen. But, like I said, there's an old Yiddish proverb, man plans, God laughs. There you go.